Greetings in the name of all things good and
That
gracious.
was the boy. That
We're
was
here
the boy.
once.
That was the boy Richard Holder right there, G Mike.
What you mean?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
We live, right?
We live.
All right. Here we go. Meet again to discuss the trending issues without fair or favor. No sacred cows, no scapegoats, no agendas, personal, political, or otherwise. Just dealing with the facts straight up. We're expected to be joined shortly by our two co-hosts. We have Jeremy Spooner here in Belize City, and of course, the venerable Joe Cowie. Uh, Wealth of information. Like get all at one time. You like feed it to you by spoonfuls. But we try pull it out as much as we can. Interesting times we live in, I'll tell you that. And things are happening one on top of the other. And here's a very pertinent point. And why I think about this. We are already halfway through the month of January. Just the other day, we was waiting for New Year's. In fact, just the other day, we were waiting for Y2K. Those of you who can remember. Time is just zooming by. But you got people like the man who's considered the most powerful man on the planet, that's trying to jam as much as he can into this little time that we have and it's zoom by here and got everybody all dizzy and tonty and confused. And speak of the devils, here come the demons. This the champion of the white race, Jeremy
There
Spooner
you go.
himself.
When you go white, you never go back.
Yeah. I don't want to hear that, you. But Joe, make we not take him on too early like that. This boy is a mess.
He's up on me. He's up on me.
Joe Cowie, how they go?
Good evening, Joe. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, gentlemen, and nice to be back.
Yeah, nice to be back. Good evening, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I was wondering whether my chap liver, the only one, only the greet Joe on this one.
You are the boss, man. You are the man.
I see. I pull up the BTL Park today. I see one little shade. I say make I pull up here and check the internet, see where to go on if anybody talk to me. And I see one car pull up and who pull out? Your boy Joe. And the man that go off with calisthenics and whatnot. I said, boy, me don't know them man in a kind of shape. That got 2 blocks around the park. Joe, you're doing all right, man. It was nice seeing you.
Well, I've always grown up, believing that exercise must be part of my lifestyle.
Well, it must do something.
I think it should be for all of us, no?
Yeah, it keep you young.
Yes, especially at this
You look
time.
good, Joe, because I think you're in your mid-80s, not true?
No, I said that, Joe.
Sorry?
Yes, 83.
Yes, you're looking good, man. You're looking good.
November 11. Yes.
Yeah.
Man, you look younger than 2 away and you hold on 2 away.
I know yourself.
You look younger than you.
Look at me. Hey.
Look at you old hawks. What was George Price used to call you, old hawks?
I know what George Price used to call me, Old Hawks. I don't know why. Do you know why, Joe, he would call me Old Hawks?
Because you look like old hawks.
He did it affectionately, not in any bad way. But anytime he saw me, he said, Old Hawks, how you doing, Old Hawks?
Yeah, he had his little way of calling people names, no? But as you write this,
Joe, they got a little trouble, You the hear me, Spooner?
Yeah, my internet is okay today. I thought maybe my internet was acting up, but
Yeah,
in your honor, in Joe's honor, being a PUP minister, you a disgruntled PUP. I wore blue and I wore my blue bandana in respect to George Price.
Well, you see me.
Good man.
You
Good
see
man.
me.
And what does your shirt say?
Make I see if I could put it for you.
I'm just that good.
Yeah, I don't want to be conceited, but yeah, that's the way you say.
Boy, on the grapevine, not the one girl tell me about you, so you're good. And I wish they would say the same about me.
Well, you had Joe freeze up and wait. Joe, go back out and come back in. Jeremy, a lot of things trending. Trump still got Maduro in
Yeah.
Iraq.
Well, I was hoping that maybe we could talk about Belize a little bit first and then get into the international stuff. Like, I was very surprised to see that Tracy Panton went to Lord Ashcroft's yacht to talk to him. I don't know. We could only suspect what that was all about, but I thought that you got Mr. Ashcroft and say, you come here, I want to talk to you. Should be the other way around. She should have told him, come to my office and come speak to me. But that
Well,
just shows you who the boss is.
you're
Right?
cruel, boy. Went straight out at Tracy.
Well, no, I'm not going after Tracy. I'm just giving you some advice. I think that perception was not well taken.
Well, I tell
It
you what,
wasn't well taken by me. What do you think?
I think they were nailing a coffin. I think it just sealed her fate. It doesn't look good at all.
No.
Ashcroft is not a very popular person in Belize.
No.
In fact, it was a virus for a long time, remember? So nobody trusts him. He has not been. I don't know if you could say that he has not been a friend to Belize, because he has done a few things, but mostly for his self gratification. I think I'm a selfish individual who's just concerned about getting as much as he could, no? So he has a well-deserved bad reputation. Let me put it that way. Tracy, by latching onto him, and your point is well taken. You want to see me? Come to the office and let me dictate the terms. I look like a little lucky now. You want to summon me to your yacht. I'm supposed to be impressed.
Look weak.
I'm supposed to be very impressed because, you have a yacht, you know what I'm saying? And I am honored to have been invited to this yacht. Somebody was, I think somebody posted one picture of her in bikini. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that, though.
Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it?
I don't say nothing. No, I think I think that I wouldn't want to see it, because I think that poking fun at her when they're doing that. I don't know who did it. I'm sure she never did it,
Well,
like when Lord Ashcroft wanted to see me, I tell him, call a Spooner's restaurant, spend some money for some coffee and some food, and come talk to me. And that's what he did,
Are you serious about that, or you just a setup?
Man, if you want to see me, come to my cafe.
So, but wait, me want to see you about this was during the ACB days, no?
No. This is afterwards.
Wait, me want to see about.
But in fact, he wasn't too happy with me being in ACB, because ACB at one time with this whole BTL thing were out after him, and the healthcare and all of that, So he wasn't too happy about that. But we've maintained a friendship. I'm not his bum ballet. We don't go out and broke out and party. But when he's in town, he may drop in to say hello and so on. I met him in Rotary. That's how I got to know him. I heard about this horrible man and so on, but
what's your impression then?
I think he's a worldly man. I love listening to how he interprets, how he highlights things in the world.
Do you agree with him?
I'd love to hear his opinion on what's going on. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's more of a Trumpster supporter than he is a Democrat. I think.
Like yourself.
Huh?
There's
things about what the right does that I appreciate. Yeah. So far, the left is not showing me anything that I would want to support.
You could very well be talking about Belize too, right there, because the UDP has not shown me anything that I would want to support either.
That's exactly right.
So
you got some people in there that they're allowed to run for their standard bearers that shouldn't have been allowed to run with their track record and their baggage, but they still allow them to, and I don't like that.
They shouldn't have been anywhere near the headquarters. They shouldn't have been allowed for walk on the Dry Youth for the Future drive there.
And it's not personal. They put themselves in that position.
Exactly.
And I have every right to say, yes, I appreciate what they did or what they're not doing.
But if you come in at my house and every time you go out, I'm missing thing, I will stop invite you there. I don't want you there in my house anymore. You see what I'm saying? So you're you're not an asset to me. You're a liability. So why should I continue to uphold you? But that for their business, right? I'm gonna tell you clear. I'm not a UDP. I'm not a carrying member of the PUP, but I kind of lean towards Joe's philosophy that the founding principles of the party is sound, and if you could have them live by it, though many of them don't and are not living by it. So I do have my criticism of them, but all in all, looking at the situation, I'd have to say right now they're the best thing for Belize, and they're not doing as badly as they could be doing. So we would hope that they would overcome the second term jitters. Okay, you know the second term that when they tend to go all out and decide, well, a time for scrape it.
I have said that. That is when that happens. All the stuff comes out about them in the second term. Apparently, they want to please us in the first term, and then once they are sure that they're in for the second term, that's when it all starts unfolding and when it starts all happening.
So I'm going to stay at Belize now because the BTL.
Okay. One thing, G Mike, you need to bring your camera down a little bit so we see more of you.
But you want to see me or you want to hear me?
It's better when you're like that. Okay, it's better.
No, but then I have to lean forward, and let me tell you something. I have to lean backwards for posture. You see what I'm saying? I am not.
It's your back, okay.
And then the back, the hip, the legs, the whole everything. So at the end of the day, when I go back, the camera doesn't necessarily come with me.
Okay, I hear you.
If you could tolerate that, and I'm here. You hear me. If you're not hear me, I think it's more important because right now with the communicate with that, no. But if you really want to look at me,
you're not very well lit up. You need to light up yourself.
I'll send you a picture of me that you could put against the wall and light that up as much as you can and look at me as much as you can. While I'm on the show, I would hope that what we discuss is gets the. Let me see if I could do any better here. And of course, the lighting in a room as it is does not permit.
Hello. Oh.
Hello, what is back again?
Yeah, welcome. Like I come back on now.
Yeah, but you sound like you're in a tunnel. There's something.
Yeah, but I think it's at that end, the other end.
He's all right. I hear him good on my side.
Yeah, I just come back now. But it's at the other end.
We just finished discussing about Tracy meeting Lord Ashcroft. What is your take on that?
Well, I don't know what was the purpose of the meeting, but I don't see any problem in them meeting each other. It depends on the terms and conditions of the meeting. I heard what you all were saying, and
okay,
I would say that to encapsulate it, it is a belief that Ashcroft tends to operate on the windy side of the law, as was said of him by some journalists. But the truth about it is that I think we have been too much damning of him, when in fact it was the people who represented us in those negotiations that did not fulfill the commitment to the people. So Ashcroft, if he took advantage of them, I will only show it disadvantage. We have to begin to question what really happened and what brought us to where we are, and whether in fact we are getting any better representation.
But hold on. How about Jeremy's point that she should not have gone to him on his yacht? That the optics of that is not very nice at all. Why not? You want to see me as a leader of the opposition? I am the one gonna be, and as she said, in waiting to be the next president, prime minister of this country. You will come to me on my terms. Why should I go to you on your terms?
I won't spend too much here, but if I am being invited, let's say the U.S. Embassy.
Joe, but you're the talk about Ashcroft, Joe. I can't, and you're not splitting any hairs here at all. It's a wide open thing.
No, I'm saying that if we look at Ashcroft in terms of a businessman, came here to invest in the country with clearly the intent of getting a return on his investment. No, that's what all investors.
No, Joe, you're eluding the point. That has nothing to do with the point that we're discussing here. Let me first of all welcome Gregory. Gregory, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Gregory.
Joe,
let me put the question this way.
Joe, Ashcroft is a businessman. But Tracy is a politician, the prime minister in waiting, if you will. Give her that those aspirations. She is not like me. Ashraf invite me to his yacht, I could go. Even if invite you to yacht, we could go. But the leader of the opposition, the optics are not good, and it has nothing to do with him being a businessman. It has to do with then what kind of business you could discuss with this man now. You're not even in position yet.
That's why my answer to it would be a case of where the opposition leader can be of the view that the end will justify the means. In other words, if she's in a position that she believes she will need resource to fight a battle that is imminent, or imminent, because it's some time yet, and she believes this is a person who can assist her in that battle, I cannot see that as being she sort of low rating, if we want to put it that way, herself.
Assist
No.
how? Financially assist?
Huh?
Financially assist?
Well, in whatever way you believe you can get assistance, it's not bowing down to him. If you're going over with your hands in, bowing down to him, that's different. But if you're gone as a leader of the opposition, evidently.
Let's get Gregory's opinion on this matter. Greg, with the talk about Tracy visiting Lord Ashcroft on his yacht. The optics, in my opinion, and Jeremy shares this view, that is not good. Okay if him can visit her at her office. Joe is saying we shouldn't read much into it, and it's okay for something like that to happen. What's your take on that?
Okay, I tend to agree with Mr. Cowie. The problem I have is that Ms. Stanton did not declare the meeting early on in the press conference. She should have declared that I met with him, and even could have introduced what was discussed at that time. That's the problem I have. There's no problem meeting with one of the largest investors in the country and one of the largest business operator in the country. So that both parties takes money from Lord Ashcroft, both the PUP, the UDP, and in some case even some of the independent parties. He has enough money to push around, and he gives that money freely, but he's expecting something in return for it. And so we need to clearly understand from our leaders, whether it's PUP or UDP, and that's one of the reasons why I am for the registration of a political party, so that we can then have declaration of the income they're getting from the sources that they are, so that we know as a people how committed and obligated they are to their interests and how ours may be lessened on these issues.
You think Ashcroft is as big a player as you're presenting him to be, and so big that in fact the leader of the opposition should go on to visit him, and it should not raise any dander, should not stir any kind of suspicions at all?
No, I didn't say that.
But it sounds like that's what you and Joe are saying, basically.
No, I'm saying that there's nothing wrong in meeting. I'm saying that.
Yeah, but no, we didn't. We're saying the same thing, because we said that Jeremy and I said that we believe that if he wants to meet her, they could very well meet at her office. You come see me. I am the person that's going to be in control here, or is it you? Because you summon me, then that's the impression that you
Mr. Chairman, I think what we are missing here is that Ashcroft, is it that Ashcroft summoned her or invited her?
Who know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, all right, that's a difference.
But that's not a part of it.
Her and she went, then that is bad for her. But if she invited her, I don't see anything wrong with inviting her.
Oh, now you're the split hairs. Now you're the split hairs.
Mr. Chairman, you're correct. The optics of how the meeting occurred is problematic, but there's no issue in having a meeting.
But we don't know. It depends on the meeting. We don't know what was said in the meeting.
Yeah, that's correct. And also, I think it was a little loose judgment to do the meeting just the morning before she will have the UDP press conference that they had powered up and made so much noise about, and then to have that meeting and not to present at the press conference as one of the first breakout issue. I just met with Lord Ashcroft, and these are the things I discussed and told him regarding our position. That was the problem that I think is at hand.
You are suggesting that disclosure is the important thing.
Yes,
You don't see a problem with her going on the yacht and meeting with Ashcroft.
that's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, two things come to mind with me when I heard about it. Number one is that Lord Ashcroft's popularity in Belize, because of when you look at the bad press, all the press that he's been getting. They call him the White Devil. I would joke with him when I would talk to him and say, "Hey, White Devil, what's going on?" and so on, and we'd laugh about it. But and then the next thing, remember Tracy before Christmas said she not got the money for get ham and turkey and blah blah blah. They not got money, and that come to my mind too. So is this a
But,
generous offer to get some
but
financing or whatever? I
Mr.
don't know.
Spooner,
Yes, sir.
you are saying that you don't know, and it's a fact that you don't know. No.
But I don't know what they discussed. Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying to you, if I'm a leader of the opposition and I'm invited to someone's place to have a discussion, I make it known to the executive that I have been invited and I will meet with the person.
Meet
I
on
met with the
neutral
person.
ground.
I met with the person. We had certain discussions
Yeah.
that I believe would not be good for public consumption because it is a strategy. So now I can come back to the executive, and even at a press conference, I can say I had a meeting with him. No, the minute you're going to say that, to me, it's suggested that I should report to the nation that I had a meeting with Ashcroft. There is no obligation for you. You are giving Ashcroft more than he deserves. He didn't meet with the Queen. He didn't meet with the
Joe, you are forgetting something here. You are
No,
forgetting Ashcroft's history in Belize.
I
That-
am not
that-
interested in the history so much,
What?
but if you want us, no, I can discuss the history with you or with Ashcroft. I know him very well.
But
I
that
have
has
dealt with him more than any other date.
no.
No,
See,
I can tell you
you're
the
the murky
history
the
of
water.
Ashcroft.
You're the murky the water. Make
I'm
we
not
keep
murky
this
the
clear
water.
and this not all of that. This is Tracy went to visit to see Ashcroft on his yacht. Now,
Right.
if you see nothing wrong with that, and Greg will see nothing wrong with that, all right. So, but I see something wrong with it. I see that if Ashcroft wants to meet Tracy, and Spooner made this point, and I agree, he should have said, "I let Miss Leader of the position, may I visit your office and speak with you?" And then me that Tracy and me got some well the care the lady with on you got pitch, no? So have somebody there and they come take the minutes of the meeting and whatnot, make sure it's up and up. Ashcroft has been involved in too many shady things in Belize. He has been known to try to buy way into influence. We don't want this continuing. The people of Belize have said it clear. We don't want this happening. So, I mean, and you're telling me now that you don't see anything wrong with it. And that in itself to me is something wrong.
But I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, let me make it absolutely clear. If Ashcroft or anyone had summoned the leader of the opposition, to me, that would be very belittling and I would not have gone. But if I'm invited to meet with someone who I believe...
You know what you tell Spooner just now? You don't know and you don't know. The fact is,
So I
you
am saying
don't
to
know.
you,
You
if-
don't know right now
So I am saying
what
to you,
happened.
that's what I'm saying to you. If she was summoned and she gone,
Right.
she was, I'd assume that she was not summoned, that she was invited. That's
Why
all.
would you assume that?
Yeah. How you know
Because I
that?
don't know whether I never have
And that is a thin line between summon
I'm
and
only
invite, you know.
assuming it, and maybe it's more than an assumption, because from what I understanding, reading the paper and on the face, she was invited. She wasn't
No,
summoned.
no.
That's what I understand it to be.
The judge invite you to court because you got a case for your answer. You're invited, right?
No, it's summoned. You're summoned.
No, but this was not a case, I believe, of Ashcroft being the judge and Tracy's and
But a bigger case, the Ashcroft being the financier.
yeah,
and-
but you know what I would have liked, Mr. Chairman?
Uh-huh.
I would have liked we take some time to discuss these characters. Because we have all different perception of a person whom I believe most of us don't even know enough about.
And who you're talking about, Ashcroft?
I'm talking about him.
All right. What is there about him that you
Let
think
me
we
give you
should
the
know that we
quickly. Like I
don't
say,
know?
I'm going to put it quickly for you.
Uh-huh.
Ashraf came to Belize through the United Democratic Party. Yes. The United Democratic Party gave Ashraf economic citizenship. Evidently, nothing wrong with what the Democratic UDP did, because Ashraf did make promises of investment in Belize, and we wanted investment, so nothing was wrong with that. No, he changed. The PUP came into power. What Ashraf did, Ashraf saw an opportunity because our leaders at the time, those who I was working with in the cabinet, wanted to privatize our utilities. I fought against it. I lost the vote in the cabinet, and then got to privatize, and that went into Ashraf's favor. So what he did, he bought the assets, and from then, that is what has been hurting us. And today, it was to hurt us again, because here we are now with buying back BTL, selling BTL, buying back BTL, selling this, buying that back, selling the utilities, buying them back. We have what you call a flavor of the weak economic policies in the two parties right now. It's what suits the particular case. For me, this country should have a democratic efficiency position. We want free market. Yes. Now, do we want monopolies or do we want competition? That is one thing we should be deciding. Here we are now, wanting competition when we sold BTL to PROSA for competition. Now we turn around now and decide that we have a competition with Smart, but now what we want now, we want to take over Smart and have a monopoly.
But
These are the
when we sold BTL to Prussia, it was not for competition, because
It
no
was.
competition existed then. BTL
No,
was going to be for Prussia and was still going to be the only game in town.
yes, but what I'm saying to you, Mr. Chairman,
Uh-huh.
I was around the table.
Yes,
Listen to me
yes.
good. No, listen to me good what I'm saying.
Yes.
The then Prime Ministers wanted Ashcroft to allow connection because only BTL could have done it because only they had it. Now remember, they rent $19 million to Glenn Godfrey to start Intel. The government gave all its account that he had to that company because it was 25% of BTL accounts was given without any bid. Now, the promise was that they would allow connections. There was a statutory instrument to be signed to force the connection. It was not done. When the connection didn't come through, that company could not have gone beyond. So it ended up that they went under. Then afterwards came Smart, and Smart got the connection. So who was so smart in that, I don't know. But they were
Ashcroft owns 77% of Smart.
So you see what happened?
What are you saying? And the rest of it is owned by the Prime Minister's family. What are you saying, Joe?
When he refused to get the connection before, he gave it to this because he was a shareholder in it. That's it.
Correct?
Yeah,
no.
That's right.
But the situation here, though, Joe, is that Belize has three major utility companies, right? You got one for water, one for light, and one for telecommunications. I don't think that Belize is big enough, and monopoly is not. When you say monopoly as a bad word, you put a dim flavor on it. But if the government, which owned BTL, and was conducting it in the best interest of the people, we know may have got this situation, and whatever money they made would have been for them. But they want a quick crack cash. You see that, like you got a loan that pawn shop and pawn out your thing for quick money, but then you're burdened with a debt, and exactly the same thing going on.
Well, let me clarify something here, which I differ with you, Mr. Chairman. I am not in any way disparaging monopolies. Monopolies are natural in small economies. For example, no, when it's natural, there is no sense to compete because you just can't. What is a natural monopoly? Electricity has been a national monopoly till when we disaggregate it, because you produce energy, you transmit energy, and you distribute it. Now, the best we could have got competition in energy was to free up the market for the production of energy. But we couldn't free up the market for transmission and distribution because it would be wasteful. You just can't do that. That's a monopoly. But where you do not have to have natural monopolies, then to me, your market economy is to drive competition. Every country, even in sport, in life, is about competing. It's when we compete, we become more efficient and more effective.
but you mix up the orange with the apples and no.
I would never do that in this, Mr. Chairman.
Because then you talk about but you talk in sports and other and disciplines like that. That one different matter.
No,
but
competition is good in everything.
No. I don't think so. Because if you have competition just to have competition, it don't make no sense. In particular, in service to the people, man.
No. You're missing the point, Mr. Chairman. What I am saying, let's deal with just the economy. Leave sports alone. Why is it that we choose a market economy? It's because a market economy is where you have competition. But if we didn't want competition, then have a centralized.
We choose a market economy?
Of course we did.
Over what? What were the choices that we had?
The choice was to have it centralized and totally controlled by government. But we choose not to go that way. We choose the mixed economy. Mr. Price deliberately choose that.
But what were the competition in those three main things when Mr. Price was in? We had there was no competition even in the radio stations, Joe. There was only one radio Belize.
Yes, but let me give you a little more about the economics of countries, not only Belize. Every country in the world today, every one developed countries, begin before with the state driving development. America, England, Germany, the state was the one who first financed utilities, energy, water, electricity, railroads, post office. All these things were driven by the state. Eventually, as the country developed, then they begin to divest themselves and privatize them. Look at Margaret Thatcher.
But hold you, okay, you always go on a tangent and you talk till you confuse me and we miss the whole point of what we're talking about.
Let me narrow it down back for you. I am saying to you all, this country believes, and that both the PUP and the UDP choose a market economy. That's what we did. We've never gone for having government providing.
And was that the best choice in your opinion?
It was the best choice and still is the best, the mixed economy. That's the one Mr. Price supported.
But I tell you what, from the get-go, I oppose the selling of BTL. I oppose the branching off of Smart and BTL because I thought that Belize was too small to support, and that competition does not always turn out to lower rates. Sometimes there are higher rates you get, and the two of them work together anyway, as was shown in the case of BTL and Smart. They were basically the same shareholders, had both of them. And the other day, Joe, BTL was floundering. They were thinking about going under. Do you remember that?
They were only thinking about it, but if they were to go under, it's because of bad management.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, we know to talk about the reasons why.
I was chairman of the board of BTL, you know. I was.
Is that the bad management you're talking about?
No, that was good management. And I give a lot of credit to Lester Young. He was the man who brought telecommunication to this country to the level we have it today. He was the one to be credited for it. No, when we had BTL, the government had it. Under the UDP, the gentleman who was the chairman made a move that every place telecommunication was to go, you have to have an internal rate of return to make sure you don't get on profit. I became chairman of the board and I stopped it because it was a monopoly. When you have a monopoly, you have to cross-subsidize, meaning that in the case of Belize City, dense population, you get high returns. No, you want to take telecommunications to St. Bank, I don't want to take it to Southern Asia. You do it even though you might have a loss because it will be offset because it's a monopoly. And I did that and we brought telecommunication to many of this part of this country.
So why we couldn't continue with that?
Because they sold us out. They sold out.
Who sold us out? You were a part of that government, Joe. Who sold us out?
No, I can tell you the whole of it then. You want to hear the rest?
You know, I like them.
When I argued against the privatization of those utilities, I did. And I did it with the support of the Inter-American Development Bank, where we had a meeting in Guatemala to discuss privatization. When I came back, I met one or two of my colleagues, one by one, to advise them, do not let us sell out these utilities. If you want to, we sell a part, but take whole, maintain the control. When we get to the cabinet, I really thought that the vote would have gone the way I had hoped for it. It gone the other way. So when the decision was taken to sell, look what they did to make it look like there was fair tendering in accordance with the financial reform. They opened it up for tender. That was making a mockery of the...
But you're saying two different things. I hear you saying two different things, and I wish you're saying one time that the monopoly is good and the fair market, open market, the way you want, and then you're saying that you were against selling it out and breaking up this monopoly.
No, what I'm saying to you, Mr. Chairman, and this is what I may need maybe no time, but maybe I try to explain it to you quickly.
But saying, Joe, you're doing a lot of talking, but little explaining. Because you're not declaring things in the murky the water, Papa.
Please don't let me choose words that I don't want to choose. I'm giving explanation. No, it's up to you all to understand it or not. I am saying to you again that I oppose the selling of those utilities.
Right.
Because the stage of development that the country was in, we were not ready to do it. Once it is a state-owned, we can make just break even and let the benefits go to the users of those utilities. When it's private, when I'm talking about economics, solid economics. When you're selling out to the private sector, and especially if you don't regulate, it's only because I fought for regulation regarding PUC. So then is when you are in worse trouble. We have to understand the economics of this country, who are the ones that failed us, and let us stand up and speak it out.
I'm trying to figure out where to say. No, I think it was a mistake to split up the telecommunications company and the whole process, because Belize, and I agree with you what you're saying. At the stage of development, we weren't there that we could facilitate 2-3 companies as opposed to the one state-owned where anything will make that for we. And all the employees we could hire, and we could still bring in outside technology. If somebody want to invest, then fine, they could invest in it, but it would stay state control. Why? Why did we not want to keep it state control? What? Because we wanted the open market, and has it turned out to be better?
I can tell you why. I can tell you why. What was happening to us, we gone with the belief that we were supposed to privatize, because privatization, this neoliberal thinking, the truth about it, the privatization in this country, under the very party that I was a part of, had nothing to do with no ideology. It was strictly to me, for certain people to benefit. That's why they did it. Let me give you an example. But let me give you an example. Esquivel to me was doing the right thing. I must give him credit. He sold out 25% of BTL to Telecom, to the British company. And he did that because they too had a monopoly in Britain still. And they were able to transfer technology to Belize. And they brought top technology to Belize. But the government controlled the 75%. We should have left it right there. That's what we should have done.
Joe, can I ask you something? Just ask you something, Joe, because you're very knowledgeable about this. I mean, I'm enjoying what you're telling me here. Why on the Esquivel? What was the advantage of the privatizing BTL? Selling 25%, having government control, but 20. Was it the input of finances, technology, and all of that? That the government.
Let me tell you the benefit of what Esquivel did make sense. What we wanted to do was to maintain state control over those utilities because they were essential for the industrialization and development of the country. And only state-owned enterprise can go for a break-even. The private sector will not do it. Now, when you bring in British Telecom, you were bringing just whole 25%. BTL was making, I call it at the time, scandalous profits, obscene profits. That was the word I used. It was. And what they did, when we bring them, we sold 25% far more for share than Ashcroft paid for the whole company. So we got a good chunk of money. SKBL took that money and they put it into social services to help develop health and education. But it brought technology to this country, to BTL. That technology that telecom came with, we couldn't buy that otherwise. Therefore, we were doing very good. And we began to move telecommunication right across this country into areas where you could look at them, not Spanish lookout, the one up down south, up north. I met with them and we removed community phones and they had phones, home phones. BTL was getting enormous good returns, and I suggested, no, the time will come when we will have to reduce the rate because we are doing very good. I get the members, the directors, and the board supporting British Telecom agreed with me that they will support that we reduce the rate because we were making damn good profits with the monopoly. So
what went wrong?
And anybody, I am willing to debate anybody. I'm telling you this. I might be sounding intellectually arrogant right now, but I am willing to debate anyone to show me why is it we sold out with utilities. What was the benefit? Then we gone back and we begin to buy them back.
But again, Joe, you're the double speak. You're the talk about that two-sided amount.
Because all right, which side you want me to talk from?
No, I want you to come real with it because you're the one breath. You're tell me that you were support with the make a lot of money monopoly. You were supporting that monopoly. You didn't want to sell out. The next side of the amount, you tell me, oh, we had to sell out because we need a free market, and that's the better way. No. Let me finish because you did say this.
I did not say that, Mr. Chairman.
What?
I didn't. No,
Where was I sitting at when all this was happening?
Could I step in a little? Could I step in a little?
I didn't say that.
The issue is with utilities, water, power, and communication.
Telecommunication.
Those systems for the development of the country should be majority owned by the government, and shares could be sold to the people or any private organization like a company like British Telecom.
Up to how many percent? How much percent? Up to how much?
Less than, so that the government
51%. Yeah. Okay.
So that the government maintain majority shareholding.
Wonderful. All right.
As long as the government maintain that balance. But in other areas and sectors of the economy, we do want a full market economy.
Okay.
And that is important so that we have competition. In the area of BTL, when they sold it out initially, it was to encourage technology transfer because British Telecom had the advanced technology switching and such and knowledge that we needed for BEL to develop and to move ahead and progress. The problem we had was when we bought it back from British Telecom and sold those shares to Lord Ashcroft that did not bring any more technology to what was there. And what he in fact also did was to create Smart and then start peeling off some of the real benefits that BTL had and the full control that they had, even taking some of their equipment and selling it to Smart as surplus equipment at far reduced prices, not paying taxes, and then selling it like a fire sale. Those were the problems, and that's the mischief that happened that created the disadvantage and the excessive growth of Smart that then became real competitive to BTL in many ways. There was a period when BTL couldn't pay shareholders because they were not making a profit. I owned shares in BTL. For like 2 or 3 years, I think, they did not pay any dividend. So those are some of the problems that has happened in the way the monopoly was run. But I do believe we do have advantages in creating monopoly in Belize. The issue we have is that some people, particularly some of the television stations and them, concerned that there is misbehavior in how they manage it, and they may shut off your service if they don't agree with you. And it may depend on whichever government is in power, whichever gripe they have. And so that is a concern that we need to protect against if we do decide to make these BTL a monopoly once again.
You said smart. Who created smart? Was it Ashcroft? Because you suggested Ashcroft created smart.
No, I think it was the Britannia. If you remember how Smart first started, they were selling wireless telephone, and then they got into internet service provider, and they evolved into what they are today.
So it's the Britannia family that started it, and then
Yes,
Ashcroft bought shares
share.
up to 77%. He
Yes,
owns majority shares now.
yes, yes.
Audrey did a live the other night. I don't know if you guys watched it. She was suggesting that there was the deal that was made. The current deal was that after 40 years, and we're at year 30, government would have gotten back the shares for a single dollar. You know anything about that?
Never heard that before.
You have to go back and see live. She was she was dropping names all over the
Who said that?
place.
Who said that? Who said that?
Audrey Matura.
Oh, okay.
Mr.
Wow.
Chairman,
Uh,
I thought we should have all known that that was what it was. What she said is true.
it is true.
Yes, because at the time, remember, when for this, any hydroelectricity that we wanted in this country, the most important resource is state-owned resource. The people own the rivers. Now, when they came with what they wanted, evidently was to use something that belonged to the people. Therefore, the government was prepared to encourage them by also giving them concessions. They got all kind of concessions, meaning exemption from taxes from this. No, that was done on the understanding. And I think the period was to be 40 years.
Yeah, yeah.
That at the end of 40 years, because of what we were giving, the government would have been able to buy it then for $1.
So why we not just wait the next 10 years? Let me first hold on. Let me read what Generatede said, because I think we should read some of these comments and get the listeners involved. You people out there, if you really want to comment, do, and we'll try get you in a conversation. Josh Price was correct with the mixed economy. Belize went wrong when Musa government introduced the market economy. Explain the two of them to me, Joe. What's the difference between a mixed economy and a market economy?
Is the market economy is a part of a mixed economy. Now, when you talk of a mixed economy, what you are saying that the state will go into areas that for certain other instances you would not want the state to go into. You will have a market where people, private sector, can invest and compete. But there will be certain goods and services, which some will call the merit goods, that the state will be prepared to do because they believe it is necessary. For example, in some countries, the state stay out of education and health. But in those mixed economies where the government, the state, will go into the economy, the market economy, and provide some of these services. You got countries like Sweden, you got Switzerland, you got Denmark. They are all under mixed economies. And of course,
Well,
the market
those are more socialist in a way. I said those are more socialist in terms of the governance.
they are socialists. They
Yeah,
are
So is that a socialist concept then? Is that
Yes, it is a socialist concept where you see when you have a centralized economy, that's where the state provides all the goods and services. It decides what to produce. It is the state will produce it, and they decide how it will be distributed.
there's some danger to that, though?
Well, we do not support it. Belize never did. That's why we call it mixed. Because on the other side, you will have a very liberal economy, like what the Republicans want to have. No regulation, free movement. No big government. Keep the government out as much as you can. The smallest government you want. Then what you have the in-between, which is the mixed economy.
In your opinion,
Go ahead, Spooner.
in your opinion, Joe, is the mixed economy better for Belize than the
yes,
what's the other one called? Open economy?
Market economy.
yeah.
Sorry?
Yes.
No, but
Market
there's not a
economy and
difference
mixed
between a market economy.
They're almost the same thing, right?
Okay, market. Yeah.
The difference is that you got America right there. The Republicans want the least government possible.
Correct. Yeah.
No, you got the Democrats who said no. They want to provide some more state-owned enterprise services and goods.
Which is a mixed economy.
Right. That's it.
Okay.
And that's all I'm saying. Mr. Price was a true believer, and he came out of a German. Heilbronner was the Nobel Prize winner that wrote The Great Ascent about the mixed economy. It was he who did it, and he got a Nobel Prize for it because he showed that every of the countries went today, even the United States, Germany, France, all of them, in the beginning, was under a mixed economy.
Of course, we've seen that the Nobel Prize not really mean much or nothing anymore anyway. So
I apologize for asking you these questions, Joe, because I'm not really up on accountant. That that kind of what you are well versed in. I'm an artist, and sometimes us artists aren't really get into that. So you're educating me, which I really appreciate. Mixed economy and the other one,
All right. And try Joe. You got it. Hours the way he go visit you, or you go visit him.
No, well, I think it's also. I'm sure there's some other people.
I have a suggestion. Don't worry. I want
let me,
to have a repeat, and it will be at my invitation. So
right.
you will come to me, or if you want, I come to another. I'm not a straw.
Go up on the yacht.
I want to invite you all to a meeting with me.
I don't have a yacht, Joe. I have a boat. But I don't have a yacht. I can invite you.
You got Dory. You got Dory. No.
But I appreciate. I ask these questions not for only educating myself, but I'm sure there's some listeners out there who are not well versed in what you are talking about and so on. And I know when I'm ignorant of things, and I shut up and I don't.
All right. So listen now. The proposal is that the government BTL buys back Smart, and we go back to a monopoly owned by the government, selling shares to people. In fact, I think I saw Kalila Enriquez doing a Money Matters thing, and she was suggesting that they want a good deal, but then they sell certain shares that people have to jump on it.
Now, she was talking about the hydro.
The hydro, yeah, but I mean, it kind of like what I guess I'm in the mixed economy thing, but all right. So I want all the three vital utilities, but the telecommunications now. Should we have one again, and can we afford more than one?
I would like
personally, if I could just input that, I think Belize would be better with one. But what I'm frightened of, when you're a monopoly and depends on who owns it, the prices and so on, and the services for the population. Is there a way that you can control that? Can government control a monopoly?
Well,
Isn't that
the
PUC?
first thing when you have a monopoly, and especially government owned like that, there's always the pressure on the government to act and to keep the price low politically. There's a favor to keep it. The issue comes into play if they don't operate it efficiently. And Mr. Coy made some reference to that if, for example, they don't, for whatever reason, management or whoever, they're not operating efficiently, then that causes price to go spiral. But as long as it's operating efficiently, they have the advantage. They have the advantage of not have duplication of infrastructure.
And whatever money they make, like Joe was suggesting, they could lower the rates.
Yes.
If they make a profit, lower the rates.
Yes. So that's the advantage of a monopoly, that if it's well managed, well run, and properly supervised by the government and properly staffed and all those things, they don't get bloated because they're not forced to hire employees they don't need. They operate efficiently. A monopoly can be very successful and can run efficiently and can be the best service for the citizens. And so I don't have a problem with it. The problem,
how do you ensure that, Gregory? How do you ensure that?
PUC.
The PUC set their rate. The PUC manage them to some degree. But the problem I have with it is that if they misbehave in some instances, like some radio station complain that their service was turned off because they were a little vindictive, and then they don't have a choice. But I think there needs to be mechanism to make sure that that type of behavior doesn't happen. And if they do that type of stuff, they could be charged significantly. And so that I mean, those are the safeguards.
But Mr. Chairman and Mr. Gentlemen,
Uh-huh.
I believe that the discussion that we should have been having over the many decades now was exactly where we believe we wanted to go in terms of the economy of this country.
Yes.
And that is where I keep saying that two parties adopt what they call a flavor of the week economics. What suits them today, they do. You cannot continue to be doing that.
Yes.
You have to make a decision, and that decision is not too late to make. We have lost a lot of years not doing it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
State-owned enterprise. America still has and will continue for some time. It was the state-owned enterprise in the United States that developed the billionaires, that developed all these things that all they did was to take advantage of all the research and development the government was preparing. Now, in Belize, what we were saying and what the IDB was supporting for countries like us, Belize, let's have the state-owned enterprise as we inherited and remain state-owned enterprise. Because energy, telecommunication, water, ports, these were considered essential inputs to develop the country, whether through agriculture, industrialization, or through tourism. Now, if you have these state-owned enterprises, only the state then can say that if we cut the rates and we do not make profit but break even, then all the people in the country are getting dividends in a sense.
You would sit here in advance.
Because they are paying less. By paying less, they would then springboard the industrialization for the country. And that was the whole idea of what the guy that got the Nobel Prize. That is what he was trying to show developing countries.
We're missing a key point here, though. And I know where Jeremy they asked AI because he got something to reveal to us. But the thing is that politics in Belize, the way it's played, when you have a monopoly owned by the government, you will have that. Where when one party is in any radio station that is talking too much against them and raising too much heat, will definitely pay the cost for that. So this is where we have to wonder, can we ever get to a point in our existence where there are enough middle of the road people, objective thinkers, we could run something like this for the government, but outside of the purview of political parties? Is it possible or is it a pipe dream?
Well, Gregory said when I asked who would control the monopoly, and he said PUC would. I did a quick check, and PUC hasn't put out a statement about the BTL acquisition of Smart as today.
Yeah.
Is that correct? I haven't seen one.
No, they have not. And that's part of the failure of how those boards are constructed. We need to make them more independent. Yes, they need to be appointed. They need to be appointed by the government, but they also need to have other parties involved so that it is not all government appointment.
Where would the other parties come from? Where?
They'll come from social partners.
And you mean like the church, like Senate? You be like
the Senate, the business community, the opposition. We need to make sure.
All right.
Sorry.
You want to share that?
Yeah, and we need to make. And we need to make sure that that creates the balance that we need, because it is important to have this independence and to make sure that that these organizations or boards function properly. And so the only way to do it is to set up those structures so that we don't have those interference that creates this grappling concern that we have, and it is real, because Jules complained about it, how they turned off his television program. We know in the past when we had one single radio station, how it behaved. We know why they broke up the radio station when one party won. You know, all this is we have the history of it. We just need to make sure we put in proper safeguards and rails and guidelines to ensure that it functions properly.
You know, I go ahead, Joe. You got something
I
to
think
say?
the gentleman here is putting up something that I would like to speak on. It's very important.
Price control is the key, he says.
Now, let me tell you how that came about. What happened? Because of small countries, it was difficult indeed to have a market economy because it is likely to have failures. So when there are failures, the state intervened to regulate it. And one of the things why you could still have a market economy for competition, if in the event that the competition cannot be had, then the state regulate by bringing in price control. And that's what we did. We did price control, I think, in 1964. We had a few big importers. They were importing all the goods for this country. And then we find some of the essential goods were being distributed but sold at too high a price. And therefore, under price again, we introduce price control. And that is how we decide we want to try to remedy some of the market failure by putting in price control. So you have to come to the customs. It was there we checked it to make sure that the price that we are saying you should charge is there. And then you have the price control office right up there in customs, right in the same building, and the entry is taken there and stamped. And then you cannot sell the goods for more than that. So we were putting a ceiling on goods, which is still here, but we don't have it as widespread again because I think much of it have been netted by the market. But we still have price controls.
So are we gonna buy back BTL? Is this merger gonna go through? Is there any way anything the government can do to convince us that we should support it and allow it to happen? You see any way, Joe, that you would agree to this, given the fact that we know that if it comes back to a monopoly under government control, it could be good for the people who already have all infrastructure. Then again, the point has been made that in a few years, all of this technology that you speak of here now might itself become obsolete. When Elon Link gets for his thing going, when you're saying, and you were telling me the other day about the phone that they'll be able to pick up signal anywhere in the world without any towers or anything like that. So what then? What do we do then?
I think that the government must make a decision with the support and consultation of the people. Do we want telecommunication to be a monopoly, or do we want to have competition? No. This government have an opportunity to undo something that the UDP did, which I think should never have been done. Mm-hmm. When the UDP took back BTL from Ashcroft with such astronomical and questionable costs, he put it into the Constitution, which was nonsense.
Yeah.
Why are you going to put that into your Constitution?
Yeah.
When in fact, you don't put it there. Circumstances in your development will determine the time when you must divest of it and when you don't.
Yeah.
This government has a wonderful opportunity because they got the majority. Amend that Constitution and remove BTL from under it. No. Next thing the government must do, and I hope they could do it together, decide what is it you want to allow competition with and what you want monopoly for. And if it's monopoly, I prefer it to be state controlled. That is the decision we have to make.
I agree.
Back and forth.
I do believe that
fundamental policies of this country change. No, man.
All right. Go ahead, Gregory.
I do agree, and Mr. Coy had a good point. One of the problems we face in Belize is that each government that comes in brings in a sort of priority that changes polar direction in how we operate. We need long-term planning and in certain critical areas of our development. And some of them is going to be, like Mr. Coy mentioned, which industries do we accept or consider to be acceptable for monopoly. And maybe those are like we said, the utilities, the water, the power, the communication. And then we don't undo those things just on political whims. If we have to undo them, it is for specific strategic reasons that ensures our development. Because at times, something that you may think will work will become unworkable and you need to refit it. But it shouldn't be just on a whim and just handing out political grace. And so
I
I believe, what do you say?
well, go ahead. I have an idea. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish up your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think once we make those strategic decision and on what we would call a 25-year plan or 50-year plan, we should be looking at this. And when government changes, they could make changes around the edges, but they shouldn't be totally abandoning a policy that was working and that was serving the people just because you're a new political party. And this goes against the grain of both of how both of our current political parties operate.
The thing is that I think though that investors like Ashcraft should be made to invest in things like sport. You want competition, go get a baseball program, get a basketball program. You have different teams to compete. Then that our industry that they could develop and make money on. But when you come to the vital things, industries, the three basic again: water, light, and telecommunications. These are the basic lifeline of the nation, and those should not be in any individual hand, and it also should not be under the purview of one whatever political party is in. There should be a constant, something that will endure whatever change of government we have for the benefit of the people first and foremost. I don't know how we can get to that point when everybody's so greedy and just to try and grab everything they could.
Mr. Chairman, can I add something?
Could I just say one thing? I have no problem, even today, for Ashcroft to invest in BTL. If he wants to transfer his shares to BTL and keep it there, as long as the government and the rest of the people owns the majority share. There's nothing wrong with his investment and his guidance and stuff, but the problem we have is when we give him total monopoly control, total control over those.
But he wants nothing less. He
Well,
wants nothing.
then,
He does not want to visit you in your office. He wants you to go to the yacht. You're missing the point. Go ahead, Joe. You were saying.
I want to give you an example of when you lack democratic efficiency with political parties where it seems to go more on the flavor of the weak economics. Under the PUP of 98-2008, we clearly made a deliberate decision, and I say it started to under the UDP, it almost the health system. We agreed that we built the health system and a culture of prevention. We're going to prevent these things from happening, these chronic non-communicable diseases. We set up PCPs, the primary care providers. For every 4,000 people in this country, there will be a primary care provider with emphasis on prevention. We had already rolled out to the south and the south side of the city. I, as the Minister of Health, signed the contracts for all the other parts of this country, Coruscant, Ridgeway, and everywhere. Then we have a total 100% rollout of PCPs with emphasis on prevention. What happened? The government changed. The then new government under Mr. Barrow canceled all the contracts. He did.
Greg, listen well, no. Greg, because you want to pay attention to this. Go ahead.
Today, look at the cost of what is happening to our people with dialysis. Look at the amount of people on dialysis, the amount of diabetes cases, the amount of cardiovascular illnesses. All of those things could have beginning and a trajectory of prevention.
Yeah. Are you blaming the UDP for that?
I would blame them who canceled those contracts for that.
The policy.
No, let's look
I'm
at.
not going to put the blame too much on political parties A lot of the blame have to go on we, the voters.
No, they hide your hand, no hide your hand.
No, they hide their hand.
no. When UDP did that, I think they were trying to cut some costs, but it was a misguided approach to try and create savings, because now you transfer it to the well-being of the people, and you transfer it to higher health costs and sicker people, citizens.
So, all right, we took look at healthcare now, which is another area which has been privatized also, because you got medical associates, you got Universal Health Center, and then you got the KHMH, which
And that's
very
what we
few could
call a
trust.
mixed economy. That's the perfect example of what we call a mixed economy.
Okay, so are we okay with that? With that being in the realm of healthcare, because that's another vital aspect of the people's concern, no, on the business, if you will. And education, of course, is another one. So, what is the government gonna do, and what are they gonna outsource?
The plan for healthcare in this country, again, we had the support of the two parties. PUP was in government. Was clearly that the government will not invest much more into infrastructure for the health system, especially in the area of secondary and tertiary care. Government will be responsible for 100% of primary care, and it is there we'll make some investments. To the extent that we do not go all the way in infrastructure, we will then outsource to the private sector in this primary care. And then Carl Hushner, in every district, there are 4 regions in the country. Every region would have a hospital to take care up to some of the secondary level. And then Carl Hushner will be the public sector one for up to maybe tertiary. But we will not be providing much in secondary and tertiary, because in the beginning, we could not afford a comprehensive plan yet for secondary and tertiary. But the strategy, which would have been proven true if we had gone through, as we were putting the 100% on prevention, over the years, there will be less need for secondary and tertiary. Mm-hmm. Now, what is happening, even under this present government, I am not seeing any report coming out to show whether, in fact, the investment that we are making in healthcare and in education, but let me take on for healthcare. Are you telling me that there's no report that I'm seeing coming out to show where we are reducing these chronic diseases?
But we do have those 4 hospitals, Joe: Northern Regional, Southern Regional, Belmopan.
No, we have the infrastructure, Mr. Chairman. I'm not saying we don't.
Okay.
I am saying that it was not just the infrastructure. We will have to be able to also do an evaluation of our performance. Now, we can put more millions into the health sector, but if the millions are not being properly monitored to ensure that we get results, then to me, we will be wasting it. What is happening right now? Look at more and more people. Look at the amount of people now having diabetes.
Yeah, but there's another part of that too, because the education and the people taking care of themselves, exercising more, eating well, and there's that part of it that we could provide the health care when people get sick. But again, you were saying, if we could prevent them from being sick with that initial health care, the first stage, no? Then
yes,
we wouldn't have to rely so much on a secondary and tertiary, which the way the expense comes in.
Exactly.
But
not only medical expense, but in human resource costs.
One of the big drains.
A human being productivity.
Yeah.
You don't only have a medical expense, but you have a loss in productivity for your country.
Yeah.
One of the big drain we have in healthcare is the violence, the constant violence, where it's costing $1 million to care for a person that's shot up. You know, these are some of the things we need to look at and try to figure out how to remove some of those encumbrance that creates that type of street violence. So it takes multiple prongs of government effort to make the system work. Right now, the system is overburdened because
That's right.
of the
I fully agree
accidents
with you, Mr. Gregory.
the accidents we're having on the road, the traffic accidents, and the gang violence that's creating so much devastation within the society.
I recall, Mr. Gregory, because you raised a very important point. When it comes to healthcare, it's not just simple the hospitals and so you know. The traffic department has a major role to play. I could recall in one traffic accident, terrible traffic accident, and what is now the George Price Highway. It cost Carl Hushner over $1 million just for that accident.
Yeah.
So the cost right now, if you see every minute you have accidents,
Mhm.
motorbikes, this one get killed, this one injured,
Yeah.
and it's very costly. Not just if you do it just the medical cost, it's high, but when you look at
Mhm.
the human resource cost, that
Yes.
is what is even higher.
But the KHMH is not free either, Joe. There's a cost for medical care, even at
But
that level.
it's a subsidized cost. It's a
Now
subsidized cost.
no, what they didn't complete in doing is to make a decision as to whether you want co-payments or whether you want the state to pay everything. And therefore, what happened? It looked like they started in a very haphazard way. I don't know whether that the government after all started it. And they started a co-payment. But the part that the patient was to pay, then they were not paying. So we should have decided, do you really want, and in fact, what is happening, what I notice is happening, is a breakdown. People are going to Carl Hushner that should have been going to the PCPs, to the clinics. Carl Hushner is not to be one private care provider. Those are for the clinics. That's why they have the PCPs. When you go to Carl Hushner, it was to be for secondary and tertiary care. So what I'm seeing is that it's a breakdown of it's a 15-page thing that was done for this country. 15 pages. And out of that 15 pages, 3 million was spent on administration alone, and 17 million was to be spent on infrastructure, a total of 20 million. I think that when we left in 2008, all that was gone in a different direction. We came back, and when we came back, I believe we had forget the past. We look like we forget where we came from. So I
Those are the
am,
things where we need long-term strategic thinking on. We need to
that's right.
start thinking of how we want to see the country of Belize 10 years from now, 25 years from now, 50 years from now, and
You know,
start planning that type of direction.
I saw a very insightful, and I must say very insightful article done by Omar Silva on dialysis. I, I hope you all maybe have read it. It's very good. What he
He
said
sent
in
it to me.
there,
I haven't read it yet. Yeah.
yes, I thought it was very good, well researched. Those things he's saying are true. And he emphasizing the cost. Those things could have been avoided. We could have avoided them. But here we go.
But what are some of the
You know what
measures?
frightened me about that?
Hold on,
Before,
Jeremy. What are
yeah.
some of the measures we could have taken to avoid those costs? Because diabetes is an interesting malady there, and it seems to be getting more. It's increasing, but what is it? Because is it really sugar? At the end of the day, we grew up eating everything sugar. I mean, the amount of sugar we ate was incredible. Somebody was talking about Rapadura the other day. Rapadura, I mean, just sugar, brown sugar in a pure form. Cutter brute, tableta, goat shit. Well, all the other fudge, milk in a condensed milk, suck it out of the can, pour it on bread, put it in a tea. Everything we used to eat the sugar, the sugar cane, straight off of the stem when we used to sell it to man. How then all of a sudden sugar becomes the bad guy and the cause of everything that's wrong? Or is it
Because
that
in those days when people were dying or getting side effects because of sugar, we didn't know it was diabetes. My father in the early 70s, his doctor put him on saccharin He wasn't told it was diabetes. Just said that he had high
So
blood sugar.
we're not it's not that it's increasing, it's that we just didn't know it was that when it was that. Is that what you're
Well, I
saying?
never know I had diabetes until they discovered I had
No, no,
diabetes.
no.
But now,
But the question is it that there's no increase in diabetes, but the fact that a lot of the cases that we didn't know were diabetes turns out to have been that, and therefore they affect us the same way. That's what you're saying?
it's now recognized. Yes, it's now
I don't agree with
recognized.
that. I
You
don't
know,
agree.
I
But
want to disagree a little bit with that because I remember when I was in Belize growing up, we didn't have a lot of obese people. There were some, but they were limited. When I went back to Belize last time and I looked, I saw so many overweight people, and I'm not
Yes.
picking on them. I'm just saying. So I believe that there's something in the diet that we have adapted recently, and we have not, in many ways, as being as
Active.
active in
Yeah.
moving around
Processed food is a
as
big contributory.
as
Processed
we have.
foods.
So
And
while
nobody
you know,
walks anymore. Nobody
yeah,
rides anymore.
yeah, yeah, those are the contributors, I believe. So while we consume more, and not only that, I think the sugar has also increased in even regular, especially processed food. All processed foods seem to have a bit of sugar to sort of maintain the stability and preservation of it. So with all that, I think that's where the issue is for why we are seeing obesity and diabetes type 2 more and more prevalent.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Andres,
this is a
very active.
wonderful
Yeah.
opportunity for me to inject something here. The book by the people with Charles Borre cited a case where a country development, especially at the state level, is to be so integrated that without one, you will debilitate the others. I must give the government credit that when the people stand up, the government must listen. I'm told now, I think we all saw it, that 13th proposal to amend the constitution for state, you notice the government backed down because the people indeed was not supportive of it. I noticed in the case recently with BTL and those cable things, the pressure came, they backed down. What I think Maria is saying, and the example is right there now, you need to look at lifestyle changes. And lifestyle changes begins not in any particular society. It begins in the cradle. So when you spend money, indeed, in healthcare, at the beginning is where you begin, within the community. That's where it begins. Now you integrate that same approach when you want to help the families at the beginning to shape better children and better parents. He cited an example which I believe Belize should be using in other countries. We have 31 constituencies. When it's time for election, you can see how they mobilize. The resource they come out with, an amount of people going to the people to win an election. It could be 2 months, 3 months. I don't know. Sometimes it's shorter. No, here we are. The country is mobilized, highly mobilized in 31 constituencies. People finding money to bribe, to do whatever they need to do, a lot of propaganda, expensive television, advertisements. We mobilize the country for election. Why can't we mobilize the country also for the other things we need in life changing? Mobilize the country also to teach our children and our parents who become the children who become parents for lifestyle changes, not only in the nutritional sense, but also in their sense of values. So,
Yeah, well, the question would be, what's in it for me? That's too unselfish a move. Nobody not going with that if they don't see direct benefit from it.
but that is the reason.
That's how we've been taught.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I agree with you. We are still in the vicious cycle, but we were not in a vicious cycle. We were in a virtuous cycle. We are now in a vicious cycle. No. Let us be positive, as Mr. Spooner had suggested, as someone did. Let us be positive. Let us tonight say to ourselves, there must be a sense of hope among us, that it can be better, and it will be better. And we can begin to look for that hope. Don't, I keep saying, live in that winter of despair. We cannot keep harping on the things that are going wrong, and that we cannot change it because the people will not change. That, to me, will never develop our country. We have to have the faith in our God, those of us who believe in God, and confidence in ourselves, and we can overcome.
You know what interesting, Joe, because you have the benefit of foresight. You were there. You saw how it worked, how it didn't work. And yes, your advice is valuable, and we look at that. But I don't know if it's realistic, because the top one drastic change, a whole paradigm shift. How is that gonna come about? What are the steps we need to take to accomplish this? We see the violence and the uprise. Greg is talking about the gunshot wounds and whatnot. Then we see it, and not only that, one ruthlessness on the part of these criminals, as if they want to kill people. They not just take your money anymore; they kill you. How we going? Where you to talk about the?
Hello,
See,
Mr.
you know.
Chairman, I don't want to be like one Machada to Trump. I don't want to be like that to you. You know where the answer lies? In Charles Burton Park. If you take Charles Burton Park, Mr. Chairman, I don't know where you get the idea from. And I'm not here to try to, because I don't need no Nobel Prize from you.
And I don't
The
need
point
much,
I'm
yeah.
making, though, why don't you go to Charles Burton Park, those of us who haven't been there, and sit down and have a conversation with Mr. Reid and ask him, boy, how this all started? Don't you just wake up one morning and look outside and you say, I will do this? Evidently, it wasn't like that. But who sowed the seed? Who sowed the seed?
Well, it
for
was
that
just
silent
like that.
revolution? Huh?
It was just like that, actually.
No, who sowed the seed for what I see as a silent revolution on Southside? Why can't the government, all of us, why can't we have more Charles Burton Park?
But it's interesting that you said that, because that would have served one side, the activity side. Because like today, the park was full. The kids were in there of all ages. They play basketball, volleyball, football. Now, there are so many open spaces in Belize City. I got another point to bring up. I want to bring this up on a while. Marion Jones Stadium. Why in the hell is that now a fire station? Why aren't people using that? But Joe, you took the initiative to go to at your age, go there and take a walk to and exercise. And why people ought to be encouraged to do this, but they have to have the places where they can feel safe. Light up some of these areas. Have somebody in the area that could be a caretaker. I try to have a hands-on um, approach on this part. People can do it. Spoonaga, one neighborhood where he live in. There must be an area there where you could put on Lee Park, go over there sometime in the evening, just chat with the kids and whatnot. Then they get disrespectful at time, but it is all about, because they got some badly boy coming here. But I put my foot down. I am the boss in here. Me run things here. I know if anybody going to know me, the uno. So if we can do your hit on that, Joe, and I got to jump on that, because yes, that's one idea that I think can bear fruit. We have to
Well,
support
let
it.
me see if I can elaborate a bit more.
Yeah.
How much do you think it costs to run a city council election in Belize City?
Boy, right now, when the costs keep going up, I said that in the millions.
Exactly, in the millions.
Yeah.
No. What did it cost to replicate in Charles Burton Park and the south side, 2-3 of it, just to replicate it, and then we find a way to sustain it. Just to replicate it.
Before we get to that part, why does it cost so much? Buying votes?
Well, I don't want it to. I just was using human beings in terms of their sense of values and their objective in life. Why is it we are prepared to so highly mobilize our people for an election? I am sensing that what it was when I entered politics, I never used to spend, in fact, very little money I had to spend. When I ran first in the city, I never spent much money.
Sound
The
like
people
Tracy.
weren't there begging for money and whatnot. I walked the whole 10 divisions. And when the results came, I tapped the polls in every division, everyone. No, before I left politics, it was difficult for me, my brother, especially when I gonna make a move in my own party, which came about at the G7. Then the two sides gang up on me. The point I want to make, Mr. Chairman, is simple this. That effort that we put in to do those things, I am asking myself, when we were doing it for little or nothing, were we not more sincere then than no? So
Exactly.
when you see this big money out there and the passion and the drive, it's not for serving the people. It's because politics comes to some of them as a way of getting rich quick. They believe
But
that's how to make money.
there's
I
blame enough to go around though,
yeah.
because the people themselves have a lot to answer for and a lot of blame for accept because that they demand the $50, that they take the $50, that they go vote for who give in the $50. So they you get
No,
the government that you deserve. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was just saying, just came to my mind when you look at what you're doing, that looks like privatization to me, and where the other parks state run. You have a big interest. The other parks are made pretty, and then they just made pretty, and that's it. They do it for political reasons to say, well, we did this for this area. You got heart. You are the man. You are the driving force behind Charlie Burton Park. You've been running it for a while. You got good supporters who believe in what you're doing, and they trust in what you are doing. So
Yeah.
there's a difference, and that's why I think you are a successful thing what you're doing, and you'll be more successful because the reputation is going around and your heart is in it. Government is just run by parks are run by city councillors who just do it and that's it. They left it after that. Your heart is in what you're doing, and I think that is the difference.
And that's why we need to have little micro growth. For example, in parks and those type of things, I believe they need to set it up in a way that the community adopts it, so that it's not just left on the government or the city council to manage it, but a community group, similar to how you have
Yeah.
structured your park, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
so that it becomes sustaining. So there's caretakers. So there are people that have a vested and vital interest in what's going on in their local community.
That's a
That's
part of the
very big.
plan, and I was saying that that's why I think there are people, retired people, in our neighborhoods that could serve these roles if they could have get out of their chair and just get active. Now, the another part of that is school, because I think sports are an integral part of all of this, you know. Now,
Very true.
the schools have no sportsing program. 2 weeks there, you hear, oh, they got basketball program come up, they get 3, 4 teams, no, and throughout the rest of the year, nothing. There's nothing that goes towards your grades for sports. I can't see it. Again, we got a Marion Jones Stadium right there. The cycling, very popular sport, should be finishing in that stadium where they could put charge on the gate and take that money where they make and put to the. It shouldn't be the Minister of Tourism sponsoring one race. That's crazy. That money that could go somewhere else. Let the sport pay for itself, even if you have to bring in people like Ashcraft to run those sports. That again is where I think those investors should be pointed to. When Tracy meet and Tracy trying to say, we're gonna leave basketball tournament with a try guitar 5 foot. Yeah, you know, think maybe we should sponsor only team. Business people don't even want to sponsor teams anymore because they've been ripped off so often. Also, they want multi hydra-headed beast that requires a holistic approach, one collective effort And
I mean,
how
we saw the breakdown of sports. To just mention that we don't have a place to play soccer, football. We used to have good boxing as a major sport in Belize at one point. All these, even basketball, I don't know to what extent they still have um, any type of meaningful.
it's necessarily not to the level when you see the attendance at the civic is dismal.
Right.
But you
Yeah.
know, again, too, you got what used to be Edwards Park. They renamed it after Rogers, who was a politician in your time, Joe, from your party, who my vivid memory of him is hanging over a railing of Vida Alegre. Used to test all the girls when they come in. So let's be, what did he have to do with sports? Now, Rogers Stadium, Mr. Edwards was a man who take one wheelbarrow and full up that park, went up to Lord Ridge's, Mr. Lord Ridge, that became Lord Ridge Cemetery. Part of history, a lot of people don't know that in fact, Lord Ridge was not a lord named Ridge. It was a man named Lord who had a ridge. I recall it a ridge. And Mr. Edwards went with his wheelbarrow every day, used to pass right by where I live and got dumped the little hole that went in the park and developed it until we had a thriving softball industry. Teams like Jungle Honey, done right. You guys might remember the name there, Willy Wiley Wizards. They had a thriving softball. We had our girls won gold, at Miami one time. You remember that?
Yeah,
Santo
we beat the
Domingo.
Americans, yeah.
We had a basketball thing that got to the point where we won the CARICOM championship with when Milton Palacio came in. I announced that game on the radio in 1998. What happened after that? The government changed. Derek Aikman went and brought in one Ballyway, spent lots of government money for, and everything just went downhill after that. What? I mean, how are we going to fix
That Marion Jones, G Mike, is a shame.
a
You know,
travesty,
it was a
offense?
given to us, and we've just let it deteriorate tremendously. They showed a picture on it while there's no football games lately. The whole field is saturated with tons of water on
There's
the
an
field.
alligator living in at the back. The kids
Yeah,
tell me all the time.
they don't maintain the field at all. I mean, God, we don't even have. I guess Belmopan is where they have the professional field, correct, with the AfroTurf, right?
Yeah, I understand that they have a good field up there.
Astro.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sports bring to me an example of leadership. That when you have poor leadership, you will have poor results.
Yeah.
Look at the time that we were referring to just now, when you had people at the head of sports in this country. Our name Lashley, because Lashley was very dedicated to sports, to softball. And softball, I think, was one of the first sports that brought to this country a medal from outside. I think it was the Pan American Games. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
I believe
Santo
it was,
Domingo.
yes.
Santo Domingo. Yes, the Pan American Games in Santo Domingo.
So we excel there. So when you look around in football, you look in all the sports, in cycling. I was along with them during that period. We organized cycling along with horse race, with Mr. Catus, who had a love for horse race.
Mm-hmm.
So we were organizing.
Well, look at the success of our volleyball girls. You got privatization in there. Miss Kwan, right?
Volleyball was excellent under Mr. Reyes. I sponsored volleyball teams and I won the medals. I won cups for volleyball. That I
Well, horse
sponsored.
racing is a good example also, and that
Horse
should be
racing
happening at the
and
Marion Jones Stadium.
We
Yeah.
ran.
I don't know why they moved it. They should have never
we
moved
ran,
it.
our,
because
we,
they-
ran we ran races there with cycling and horse race, and we have betting. We had betting. In fact, the bishop, Anglican bishop, would contact me. He said he never liked the idea of how I introduce it, but I said they do it in a horse race already. Anyhow, he left it alone. The point I wanted to make, let me come back to it. Men, gentlemen, wherever you see things not looking good, problems at the bottom, reflection at the top, is a sign of a leadership crisis. This country, to me, is going through a leadership crisis. And you gave a good example just now using sports. You see how we...
I'm more than that, Joe. I wouldn't just put it right there at all because I want not leadership, I want fellowship problem also. because the
Yes, sir.
involvement of the community at large is lacking. And the leaders only go as far as you let them. You yourself pointed out that the public pressure has made some changes and can make changes. Where are the people? When are the people going to stand up? When are they going to realize that it is in our hands to make a change? The
Well,
change that
Mr.
we need
Chairman, I
is
want to leave you
us.
on the sociologists to argue that. But what I would say to you before, I am of the strong opinion that leadership, followers can become leaders, but followers have to have followers. Begin with the family. That's where the society begins. They're not the child at the head of the family. That the father and the mother, they are the leaders. And the children must follow until when they can become leaders. So when you're looking at our democracy, where we want to participate and we go and we elect with leaders, it is for those leaders responsible to make sure, yes, we have good followers. Yes, we develop the country. But if we sit back and keep blame the people who take the money, take the bribes, I'm not saying that they don't have some blame to take. But sometimes you ask yourself, if it wasn't because of their failures, creating circumstances for family to be so stressed out that they will take the money because they need their bread and butter.
I don't think we're blaming them. I'm saying we say they share some of the blame.
I begin with leadership. I believe the parents
Uh,
share the blame
and
for the
I
children.
don't think the analogy is good with the children, because on a totally different thing. When you deal with adults and citizens, grown ups, you expect more. Children, yes, have to be taught, have to be steered in a certain direction. When you get to the age of reasoning and you could figure things out for yourself, and then you have to then be stupid, maybe you need to be taken advantage of. So maybe we need to get frank with this and be honest, man,
Make
because
I put it, all right, Mr. Chairman, make I make a comparison.
You-
Maybe the sociologists will help me here. Don't you believe that in the earlier years, the man like Westby, the man like Coffin, the man like Paul Rodriguez, those people who were around at the time, and they were our leaders in the political sense. Don't you believe that they were leaders who were more sincere and committed to the good of the city and the country? So,
we're
At that time, at that time, we had a social infrastructure. I think right now it doesn't exist. People are at every facet of the society I see right now. People are just concerned about what they could get. They are not
what's
any
in it for me?
concern about the community.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
They're not concerned in any way about the community. And so at some point, we need to rebalance that. And I think that what we need is some social leaders, and we also need the leadership from the political so that we can get the community to join in and get those followers that Mr. Corey is talking about. Because people are hungry, they want a place to recreate, they want a place to sort of go and enjoy some entertainment and stuff. But
And they'll be
right
more
now, the whole
productive. They will be more
yes,
productive as a result.
yes,
Go ahead.
and
Come on.
healthier, healthier.
Yeah.
That's
And
where we
happier.
started this.
And happier. Correct. I think it's we're hitting on some points here. I don't know how far we'll go, because something has to be done. We understand this. The status quo is not acceptable.
that's it.
Yeah,
And we have
yeah.
to understand that.
And part of it is to project and to start setting our sight on what we want to be in the future, how we want to develop personally, economically, socially,
That's right.
what we envision for our society as we move forward for our children. It can't just be this selfishness of just for myself. It needs to be because we are all going to be impacted by the society.
That's better, Spooner, isn't it?
I'm concerned about the viciousness of the crimes too.
Yes.
The robberies that happen in Belmopan.
Boy, that one
Now,
discussion.
rob is one thing, but then you why kill? Why? I'd love to know if those two men that they caught responsible for the murder of Mr. Gabriel.
Yeah.
Um, what went through their head? Why you got them? They got the money, right? Why would you go ahead?
No, I don't think they got the money. I think they weren't able to get into the
They
vehicle.
were trying to
No,
get.
no,
That's
that's
what
the
we're
other.
trying
That
to.
one, another one. Not another two guys. This are the guy went and shoot through the window where the guy locked himself in the vehicle. The two
Yeah, yeah,
guys
yeah.
that apparently got the money when I was on the
Oh,
truck
they
that
did?
they drive through the road, yeah, and rob them and kill them. But there's
We're talking about the one on the Hummingbird Highway. Yeah. Okay.
correct. Then there was
Right.
one. There were two.
And they have
Remember
a
one?
feeling.
Uh,
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no,
Go
there were
ahead.
two of them. There were two. One that one double murder where they shoot the two guys. Then
Yeah.
it looked very much to me like an execution. And a lot
Yeah.
of times you have to get to the bottom of these things to know if they're not cover for something else. Yes, they will take the money to make it look like it was a robbery, but it could very well have been something else. No, the
Yeah.
next
It's
one,
just disturbing the brutality that we're
the
going
next
through.
one, the guy locked himself in the vehicle
Yeah.
and they still kill him. I guess out
Yeah.
that there's a rage in these kids. So I see it, even in the young people around here. And sometimes I see them they fight one another, right? And one of them is shake and they say, but what are you going to do? That none really nothing that. But then it spirals and it goes into something else and it gets worse and worse. And I always tell them, there are guys who I grew up with that we had fights, big fights. But we wound up eventually becoming friends. If I had killed one of those guys, or then one of them had killed me, then that may be
Yeah.
the end of it for two of us. So,
Yeah.
and killing a person, then I don't care how tough and callous you are, there's a price to pay. Because imagine you just kill a person and then you think they could just go home and go sleep, but they can't really. And eventually you see them crazy. You got a couple of people who say they walk about nowadays, you wonder how they get so. You would be amazed at the things that they have done, that they
Yeah.
have to
Being on
live with
North
every
Front
day.
Street, Mike, I
Mhm.
was educated a lot. I never really lived in the city. And I must say that I see a lot of, I don't know, like people just angry on the streets. People they cuss out one another, threaten one another. And I don't remember that when I was growing up in Belize, but like coming back to Belize in 91 and being on North Front Street, I saw a viciousness in our population that I never saw before. No? So
There's
I don't know.
also tolerance, from the society at large. And we always tend to take the side of the perpetrator and make him the victim. We do that one a lot, and that goes a long way in emboldening people to act that way. There were, I am no psychologist, and I've looked at it from a layman's point of view, but a lot I don't see it as being too complex. You're not hard for see it, analyze it. Now, as far as the solution and even the root cause, that one different matter. But what is happening is obvious, and some of the reasons why it happened. Some of the parents don't even spend their time with these children. I don't know what they're learning in school beside the 1, 2, 3, ABC, etc. But I asked a couple of the kids, what holiday will you celebrate this week? And they don't know. I say, who birthday with it? They don't know.
Do they know who George Price is? Did you ask them? Do they know?
They don't know. And I point them to a picture. We have a picture of him on one of the benches in the park. But and that one part we don't have much time for. But talk about, but the same thing when we talk about monopoly, we also have to look at the split in of the government. And with George Price's birthday today, and a good time to look at that. Because George Price was putting in work, and we know that the haters know. I see Greg antennas going up. But there are people who aren't. They're not big fans of George Price for whatever reason. You hear all kind of things, but at the end of the day, when you look at George Price and his legacy, I believe that George Price was on a good track, was a good man, had good plans for this country. When democracy, as you call it, came into play, which can be likened to the monopoly that we speak of, I mean the free market that we talk about, as opposed to a monopoly of ideas, that when the problem began, when we had to object to everything if it was not in our line in our scope of support.
Well, let me say this one for George Price, that I was very glad to have been born a free man and not a slave. And I'm very glad to have been born from the mother and father that I born from. But what I'm most grateful for most of all was born in the time of George Price. I think I learned a lot from him. I think I saw dedication, leadership. And I will remember him always. The time that I spent with him, I never did have a boring moment, you know. And yes, of course, nobody perfect. I saw some faults in him. But the truth of it, gentlemen, Mr. Price virtues outweighed his faults. He was a good man.
I think he was well intentioned. Gregory, because you need for Wayne Punish and be very frank.
Well, you know, I people call him the father of the nation, and I don't take away anything from that. I agree that he was one of all the leaders we have had so far. He's probably one of the most deserving in many instances because
Maybe father of independence, maybe. Yeah.
well, they call
Well,
yeah.
he brought us. Who then would you say is the father of the
Well,
nation?
John Price actually said someone else, and I don't remember who it is right now, was actually the father of the nation. So, but that I don't have an issue with that. I don't have a particular issue with that. He has left a good legacy in many ways. He's also, like Mr. Coy said, had his faults, and many of them trace back to where we stand today as a country. Um, and some of the problems we have was part of the burden that he carried and brought us this far. But on this day of his birthday, we'll give him praise and we'll say that we'll deal with some of his issues at another day.
You know what funny? Because I don't know if you'd be able to do it in this day and age because George Price would stop and pick up anybody and get in a ride. He would get out of his vehicle and pick up garbage off the street. He was seen many times walking around Belmont Pond picking up garbage. He lived a humble life. I remember when Belmont Pond first opened, Mr. Price selected a house, one of the smallest little houses that Belmont Pond. In the Magdan, and there were some bigger ones being built on some of the other areas like Mahogany Street and the area. Mr. Price took a little small, how I believe it was on Stan Creek Street. No, it was more on this side, Oriole or one of the avenues. But I was even in Belize City, if you see the house that he still lived in now, and you could say, oh, he gave family all opportunities and whatnot. And I imagine some of his family did get opportunity, but then there's an old saying, passing Christian and picnic first. If I am in a situation and I've got two people coming for a job, I know one more than the other and related to one and they're both qualified. That is where it comes in when you get people who are not qualified simply because they're that and nepotism, because they're related to you. I didn't see that. And even so, if you give your relative an opportunity and then take the opportunity and make the best of it, then you can't really fault that either. But I don't think he was that kind of way he was painted. And the propaganda was vicious and unfair. And I still hold that as a person who looked at it and saw it. And even to his last days, went to that league where he used to walk to school at Holy Redeemer every day. Walk the league to school. I think I made goddaughter or something.
Yeah, he used to bring her into my cafe, not my cafe, my photo lab, to develop film that she had shot and so on. I think he had given her a little camera, and she used to take pictures, and he would bring her in, and they would develop the photos and look at the photos afterwards. So I remember that too. Yeah.
One of the
I felt there's when I look back when we were under his leadership, I felt comfortable. I mean, we weren't as developed as we are now, but there was a comfort, there was security, there was we felt that we had a vision and we had a leader. I don't really get that nowadays. I don't feel that feeling anymore.
I want to just relate this my experience on the eve of that 1984 election. We were campaigning together in a Freetown, we had just passed your family home, Greg. And me and him stood up right in front of St. Joseph Street. He said, Jose, he said, go home He said, I'm going home now. He said, go and take a rest. Then I move off and move, and he stopped. He said, also remember, we'll meet the day after. You know what he was telling me? He felt that we were going to lose. He said, but we're going to begin the day after. That was the tell me the day after the election, and we lost. But the day after, he called the meeting. He said, the campaign begins now. And that is the kind of determination. And these are people who you want, you could have followed them. You could have followed them. He was a great leader, man. He was. We should have more.
Guys, listen, there were a lot of things we could have discussed on the foreign scene, because of course the mess is continuing over there. I see Iran is up in arms. Can we could go there now, right spoons, and talk a few minutes about the whole volatile situation that we face with abroad. What's going to happen there? Are we getting the truth? Because this is the problem that we are faced with now, that you see things on the internet, you even see it on the news, and there's so much falsehood. And with the advent of AI now, you don't even know, you just see it and you don't know if you could believe it.
Yeah.
I see one donkey to talk.
Yep.
I see Trump to talk him out the move, but you know it is the way he said, I know him to say it.
That's right. Yeah. I'm wondering too if they say that 3,000 protesters have been killed. I don't even know if that is true. But I am sure. Sorry.
That I heard that.
I don't know if it's true or not. You know, you can't trust what they're putting out there.
You don't know, because there's a lot of propaganda and craziness.
Can I just ask a question there, Mr. Chairman? You are familiar with what is the implication for Belize with these 75 countries, including Belize, whether they suspend visas, travel visas?
There you go. I was do some research on this, because I understand there's a difference between immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas. Greg might help us with this.
Yeah. I think what they're saying, that it was immigrant visa that they were going to be.
If you want to go work or something like that.
Yes. But visitors visa, there was no issues with those. And
you can still visit, you can still go for a while, as long as you know overstay your time.
But some countries have been banned from applying for either one of them. Whereas Belize has only been banned on one of them, and that's the immigrant.
But they're not banned, actually. They're just reviewing it. There's no ban.
Well,
there's no ban.
It's been put on hold for the time right now.
It's being reviewed. It's being reviewed, and they're going to make some decisions later on. So I don't think Belize is going to be affected by it. Belize is such a small player in terms.
We're not on his radar yet, as Brent has said. Yeah.
Why put us in a list of 75 countries? Any at all?
Why put 75 countries? Why? What is he trying to do?
Well, maybe because of CARICOM's statement about Venezuela and our support for Venezuela.
But seriously, man, is that? I mean, they got one amendment in the Constitution. What the second? That you're supposed to you're able to say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel. This is crazy, man. Well, Trump has to be brought into check, and I hope that in the midterms, and he has said it, that if they lose the Congress, he'll be impeached. He really thinks he'll be impeached. I don't know if they'll be able to sway, but then if the Democrats take control and they're in there, they'll have the majority, no? So the midterms will say a lot, and I don't see him hanging on too much longer, because he's lost a lot of support. There are some people who were stone cold MAGA, who would have put their head on the block for this man, that are now telling you, I didn't think he was going to be this bad.
Yeah.
Well, politics is changing, and we don't know what's going to happen a month from now, much less 6 months from now.
No, yeah, you're absolutely correct. In the blink of an eye. Guys, it's 9 o'clock. Thanks for the robust discussion once again. Folks out there, we're on every Thursday evening at this same time, at 7 Belize time, and you figure it out where you are. And we invite you to type in Ali Sunning. You can give us some questions, some comments, and hit that subscribe button to keep us on the air. We're doing this for the love of it, and we really believe that there's a need for a show like this. Joe said it's one of a kind, and we got to keep it going. Gentlemen, any final words?
Good evening. Thank you.
All right. See why we're done here.
All right. Good evening. Good night, everybody. Yep.
Keep it going. Keep it going.